Hello everyone, my name is Manolis Finarlakis, the founder and creator of Reality Crowd TV, and I have the pleasure of being with Emily Martin, the CEO of Simply CFI, and thank you very much for joining us, Emily.
Thanks, it's nice to be here.
Great, and Emily, your company is extremely interesting, and I'd love you to give us a little bit of an idea of exactly what Simply CFI does.
Sure, well what I'm trying to do is provide information to investors that are interested in crowdfunding. I think at the moment that a lot of the platforms that are established to issue equity for companies or to issue debt on crowdfunding platforms are really trying to sell a product. So they're just talking about one side of it. They're saying what the pros are of investing in either debt or equity. What I want to do is say, well, what are the risks of investing in debt or equity? And I support crowdfunding, but I think it's really important that investors are aware of the risks so that they don't feel misled or they don't get disgruntled with their investments.
Very interesting, and you're absolutely right. So crowdfunding, the equities piece of it and the debt piece, there's different risks. If you're funding or buying shares in a company that's an established business, maybe that's less risky than a startup. So there's different levels of risk. So can you tell us about the different risk factors?
Sure. I mean, as you said, when a company was established is one of the big risk factors, because the majority of companies, if they fail, it will be within the first couple of years. And I think investors need to be aware that between 75 and 90% of startup businesses fail. And it's also important that if you are investing in a startup or doing any investments, you need to diversify. So there are some studies out there that say if you invest in startup businesses, you could earn up to 25%. You could across a diversified portfolio, but if you just invest in one company, you have that 75 to 90% risk of that company failing. And another very important risk is what level you're coming in, because in some startups they might have raised money previously, and if you're coming in as a second round investor, you might have the risk of being diluted in later investment rounds. So again, that's another risk that people need to be aware of. What kind of shares are they buying? What rights do they get as a shareholder? And what risks do they have as a shareholder?
Absolutely, and part of, I think, what's going to protect investors, hopefully, is the caps that are being proposed. But even so, no one wants to invest to lose money. Of course, everyone's investing to make money. So that's the key. And so I know right now there's a lot of questions. What do you feel is kind of the most unanswered question right now in crowdfunding? Is there an area where you see that there's a higher risk? Is there some questions unanswered that you're concerned about?
I think it is mainly around the education of the investors. At the moment, the SEC rules are proposing that each person do some kind of test to say they understand the risks. And I've looked at what they've done in the UK. The tests are really 10 very simple questions. And there's no in-depth education going on behind those platforms. And I think, for crowdfunding to be successful, investors need to feel that they're a part of something. They need to feel that they had all the information necessary. And just telling them that companies are going to be successful and they could earn a lot of money is only one side. And giving them an oversimplified test, it doesn't give them any information. So they need to be able to get both sides of the story. What's good about this company, what's bad about this company.
Absolutely, and you're providing such a valuable service. And these are the questions that need to be answered, and you identified a problem and now you're starting a business yourself. So what people don't know is the problems in the regulation are opportunities for entrepreneurs such as yourself so that you can help people. You're creating a business to help people, so I think that's really great. And I guess if we wanted to have an expert on our show, which we may, would you like to be on an expert panel when our show gets off the ground? Would you like to be on Reality Crowd TV?
Yes, definitely, particularly from the investment perspective, because I think it's often a side that's not heard, but if a company wants to raise money, they need investors.
Absolutely. Great, well, we just had our interview with Emily Martin, and Emily, thank you so much, and please tell the audience what your website is.
It's simplycfi.com.
Simplycfi.com. Great. Well, thank you so much, and you have a wonderful night. Yeah, thank you. Great.